Hello again, everybody, and welcome back. We're just going to be going over some mathematical relationships again, a little extension of what we did on Friday last week. So let's just dive right into it. So a couple of reminders. A relation is a relationship between two sets of values. So it basically makes a value from one set of something correspond to a different value from another set, or it could be the same value, but just a value with another set. So for us in math, the relationship is between the x values and the y values. So remember our ordered pairs, or our x comma y's. Those are our ordered pairs. So we always go horizontally first, vertically second. So also from Friday, the set of all x values, the inputs, is called the domain or the independent variable. And the set of all y values would be what we get out when we put the input in, or the output. So that's called the range or the dependent variable. That's just all reminders from last week. So today we will study additive relationships and multiplicative relationships. So those are the two things we're going to be dealing with. So additive relationships involve only addition or subtraction when they're comparing our x values and y values with our function here. So this here is what always these additive relationships are going to look like. So when it talks about subtraction, that's going to be if our b number here is negative. So y equals x plus b. And b cannot be 0. Otherwise, it's a multiplicative relationship, which we're getting into next. So what's happening here is the same quantity is being added to every x value. So we're pretty used to doing tables and graphing here, so let's take a look. We've got our rule, or our function, is x plus 2. So all we're doing is taking whatever x value we have and adding 2. So 0 plus 2 will be 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 2 is 4. 3 plus 2 is 5. So we've got a table here of our x, y values, which correspond, remember, to coordinate pairs, or points on a coordinate plane. 3, 5. All right, so from here, we're just going to be graphing. So 0, 2. 1, 3, 2, 4, and 3, 5. And we can see how this little function here is growing. And it's just, obviously, we can tell it's growing by 1 each time we go. So remember, these are always going to look like this form. Y equals x plus something, or x minus something. Alrighty. Now on to multiplicative relationships. So this involves only multiplication or division to compare our x values and y values. So in this case, the function will look like y equals something times x, and m cannot be 0. So the same quantity is being multiplied by every x value as opposed to added from up above. So you can see how these two equations are a little bit different. So for additive, we had y equals x plus b. And for multiplicative, we have y equals m times x. So those are the two subtle differences here, and I'll show you how we can tell the difference here in a minute. All right, so our rule for this one is y equals 1/2 times x. Well, negative 2 times 1/2 will be negative 1. 0 times 1/2 is, well, 0 times anything is 0. 2 times 1/2 is 1. 4 times 1/2 is 2. And once again, we have sets of points here that are going to live on our coordinate plane. 2, 1, and 4, 2. And once again, we can graph those to see how this thing is growing. So -2, -1, 0, 0, 2, 1, and 4, 2. So we have a shorter slope happening than we did before. And drawing our line through, this is what this function will look like on a graph. All right, so we can see that both additive relationships and multiplicative relationships are straight lines. So both of them will always be straight lines. The difference is multiplicative relationships are always going to go through the origin, and then additive relationships will not. So that's the key difference in how you can tell the difference between what's additive and what's multiplicative. If it goes through 0, 0, if it goes through our origin, then it is multiplicative. If it does not go through our origin, such as up here, then it's additive. All right, so let's take a look here. Multiplicative or additive? Well, let's see. Let's try adding first. So, are we adding the same amount every time? Well, let's find out. We've got -3. How do we get from -3 to 1? Well, we could go +4. How do we get from -1 to 3? Well, that's also +4. 1 to 5 is +4. And 3 to 7 is +4. Look at that. We got lucky there. You might have to test two different things here. So that is additive. And we get to our y by taking whatever x we start with and add 4 to it. So pretty easy there. Well, let's try this. So how do we get from -4 to 16? Well, that's +20. How do we get from -2 to 8? Well, that is +10. Okay, so we see difference in adding here. We're adding different things, so we know it's not going to be additive. So let's double check our multiplicative just in case. How do we get from -4 to 16? Well, we times by -4. How do we get from -2 to 8? We times by -4. How do we get from 0 to 0? Well, you can times 0 times anything to get back to 0, so we can say we times by -4 in that case. And getting from 2 to -8, we are timesing by -4. So this is obviously multiplicative because we're multiplying to get to our y value from our x value. And our rule is, well, y equals whatever we are multiplying by, in this case -4, times x. And we get our y values by using that rule. All right, and finally, well, we can't multiply to get from 0 to -3. That's impossible because multiplying by 0 would be 0. So we know right away that this cannot be multiplicative. But let's see what the additive is. So getting from 0 to -3, well, that is -3 or plus -3, whichever you want to think about it, since these are additive relationships. But remember, additive relationships can be added or subtracted as long as you're adding or subtracting the same thing. To get from 2 to -1, well, that's -3. To get from 4 to 1, well, that is also -3. And 6 to 3 is -3. So our rule here, well, this is additive. And our rule, so to get to our y, we take whatever x we had and we subtract 3. So pretty simple there. All right, so here we have to complete the table. So let's figure out what's going on here. So -5, how do I get to 25 from there? Well, once you start to see the pattern come out, it becomes a lot easier. So -5, to get from -5 to -25, well, we're going to times it by 5. And the same is true to get from 7 to 35. That's times 5. So, to complete this table, 3 times 5 will be 15. And then what did I multiply times 5 to get to 45? Well, that's going to be 9. So our rule, we get to y by taking 5 times whatever our x value is. Alrighty, so to get from 3 to 15, we can test it out. Whoops, come on back now. Times 5 for that one. But is timesing 10 by 5 going to get us to 22? 10 times 5 is 50, so it's not. So pretty quick to see that it's not multiplicative here. So to get there, we added 12. Getting from 10 to 22, we added 12. So how do we get what plus 12 will give us 27? Well, that's going to be 15. And then 22 plus 12 will get us to 34. So our rule here, we get our y value by taking whatever x we have and adding 12. All right, so remember multiplicative rules can be also dividing, because dividing is multiplying by the upside down thing, basically. So getting from 6 to negative 2, or 6 to 2, excuse me, divide by 3. And 18 to 6 is divide by 3, so that matches. So 9 divided by 3 will get us to 3, and 21 divided by 3 will get us to 7. So our rule here, we get our y value by taking our x value and dividing it by 3. Another way we could write this is y equals 1/3 x. Those are the same thing there. And then finally, this is just like we did yesterday, so we're going to take our rule, find our y values, and then plot the points. So our rule is y equals x plus negative 3 here, so negative 2 plus negative 3, well, that's going to get us deeper into the negative, and that will be negative 5. 0 plus negative 3 is negative 3. 1 plus negative 3 is negative 2. And 3 plus negative 3, well, that's 0. So remember, these are x, y coordinates here that we can plot. 3, 0. So we've got negative 2, negative 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to go there. Remember, the first number in our coordinate pair is always horizontal, the second is always vertical. So now we've got 0, negative 3, so I don't go left or right, I go down 1, 2, 3. 1, comma, minus 2, so I go over 1, and then down 2. And then finally 3, 0, go over 3, go over 3, down 0, and here is the line that this rule creates. And then finally, y equals negative x, so basically that's y equals negative 1 times x. So negative 3 times negative 1 is 3. 1 times negative 1 is 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. And then I'm going to skip writing them out as coordinate pairs, but they are still coordinate pairs. So we're going to go left 3, because that represents negative 3, and then up 3. So there's how we got that. Minus 3 for the first number goes left, up 3 for the positive 3 of the second number. And then we've got negative 1, comma 1. 2, comma, negative 2, and 4, comma, negative 4. So if you don't get a straight line when you're doing these, you'll know that something went wrong. And then once again, like above, This thing here goes through the origin, so we know that it's multiplicative. This thing here does not go through the origin, so we know that it is additive. So that's how we tell the difference between additive and multiplicative. All right, so there is 2 pages of an assignment to get done. So there's 2 PDF files on Canvas. Make sure you take care of both of those pages when you turn it in. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or send me a message on Canvas, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And yep, I will talk to you all here soon for the next lesson.